Felix Richter. Fix it, Felix, you know? We are prepared. Is everybody ready to learn about Felix? Is everybody ready? Who's prepped? Who's excited? Who's amped? Who doesn't know Felix's story? I'm not ready. You're never ready for Felix. Never ready. I'm excited. I don't know. Sure. Who's Felix? I don't know. So Tyler, Felix is one of the players in DBD, and every Monday-ish I've been trying to do DBD lore, so thank you. So I'm basically teaching about the different like backstories behind the characters and how they got in the fog and stuff like that. It's been a lot of fun. So today is Felix. If you don't know, he was chapter 17, Descend Beyond. He was brought in with the Blight. If that rings any bells, usually people remember Blight before they remember Felix. My brain. So we're just gonna jump right into it, okay? He was born to Janos and Ursula Richter in Coburg, Germany. They were a very respected physician's family, very well-known doctors, took care of their own, had a lot of humanitarian offers. They traveled a lot. They took care of a lot of sick kids. They did a lot of good in the world. They were very proud of themselves, very prideful with their jobs that they did. So he was expected to uphold that standpoint, to follow in the physician's footsteps, to follow in the doctor's footsteps. And he, because of said traveling, actually got into architecture. He loved going city to city and seeing. So by the age of 23, he was considered an architectural prodigy. He was doing so well and had so many cool designs that everybody just wanted to hear his thoughts and learn more architecture from him. They were very interested in his cutting edge, pushing the limits designs and what he did. He won the Swiss Architect Medal and the German National Design Award, which is, if you guys do not know, is a real set of awards. Those are two actual awards in Germany that you can get for architecture, which was really cool. I thought it was really cool they included that. But because of all of this success, Felix experiences imposter syndrome. He has imposter syndrome. He's very worried that he didn't actually earn this success, that it's just because his family's already well known and everybody thinks he's going to be this great brain and amazing person. So kind of going back to the beginning, the reason he thinks all of this is when he was a kid, he was very socially awkward. He didn't like to hang out with friends. He had little to no friends. He preferred his time being spent in his father's library. It was his favorite place in the world to be. They kind of put him through therapy. The dad was like, let me put you through like I don't know, like a physical therapy sort of thing to like push him to be more social. They put him in like speech lessons, stuff. Ended up going into the library more often. He was with his dad more often. He enjoyed the library. The dad just kind of was like, maybe he'll come into it on his own. He'll figure it out on his own. He'll become social when he knows that it's time to be social. And so the dad starts spending more time with him in the library. They start to build things. They build things like out of the books. They build things out of like the cardboard, any standpoints they could find. And he really finds his son's love for, books and architecture and studying and reading. And because of this, while they were doing it, the father would tell him dark stories of him and his group called the Imperiati. The Imperiati was a cult, quote unquote, that his parents were a part of. It was a lot of really, really rich physicians and doctors and lawyers that all got together on this island called Dyer Island. It was a private island. They would go there like once a summer, and they would encourage all of their kids to get together and like hang out and play and like do stuff. And so Felix, of course, kind of hesitantly went into this group of friends and found 4 other kids, so there's 5 total, that were as awkward as he was, that were really unsure of their footing, unsure of where they were going. And they became the pariahs by the other kids. That's what they called them, because they were the kids that were kind of the outcasts. And so he and the pariahs go and start exploring ruins and taking adventures on this Dyer Island. So they're super amped for the summer. They're deciding they're going to do studies and research. They're very excited about it. But during one exploration, they come across like an abandoned camp. I like it. Losers Club vibed. Yes, for sure. they come across this abandoned camp and they find this like underground lab, and they kind of look around. There's some leather journals. There's notes in the journals of like inhumane treatment of prisoners from the first Opium War by the British East India Company. Through one of the locked doors in the lab, there is some human remains and a vial containing a very weird orangish yellow serum. Serum. Before they can get into it and kind of test it or see what it is or like get more curious about it, this fog starts to roll in. The earth starts to like crack underneath of them. There's like earthquakes everywhere. Things are getting crazy. This huge five tentacled claw shoots up from the earth and is like reaching for them and stretching. And before Felix can even register what's going on, the parents show up. And they've got weird artifacts in their hands, and they're chanting weird things, and they've got these weird books and instruments in their hands. And this thing backs off, and the parents walk into the fog and are never to be seen again. All of their parents disappear, all 5 of the kids' parents. So they spend years searching for their parents. They're trying to find any kind of clue they can find, any kind of inclination as to where they could have went, what that was, where it came from. They find nothing. Years pass, they come across nothing. All 5 of them decide to split off. They're like, you know what? It's not the vibe. We're not finding anything. We need to leave this darkness behind us and not look back. So they all just part ways and do their best to suppress it. And we all know how in spoopy things, suppressing your memory goes, right? So he gets home and he's like, you know what? My social skills were holding me back. My dad was right. So he puts on like this mask, basically. He's just like this... Just like the rest of us when we have anxiety and stuff, he pretends to be somebody else. He pretends to be like the Bruce Wayne of his world. He decides he's going to be this huge social party. He goes to every party he has. He goes to all of the get-togethers. He's putting himself out there, and he gets kind of caught up in it. And he ends up making friends with a colleague. I think it's like Lori and Golder. And they end up making Richter and Golder company, and he becomes like the co-CEO of it. They're an architecture company, and they're known for like pushing the edge on designs, pushing the scary, the creepy on the very edge of things, especially for their time. And he still feels really fake. He's still having that huge imposter syndrome because, you know, he's having to pretend to be social. He's trying to like channel his father to be that social person that he never was. And he feels like he just doesn't deserve any of the credit. He's getting all of these honors and he doesn't deserve it. During these times of self-doubt, he would go to these parties and he'd drown himself in alcohol. He'd wish for his father to be there to give him advice, to cut down on him, you know, and his parents disappeared. They never quite left him. So eventually, Felix's girlfriend announces she's pregnant. This shakes him up. This shakes his whole life up. He decides he's going to pull himself up out of his self-pity party stupor. He's going to get his life together. He's going to be the father that he needs to be to his child because he had such a great father figure growing up. You know, his father hung out with him. They played in the library. He seemed really understanding. He always tried to do what was best by Felix. He's like, I'm going to be this for my kid. Old friends of his father actually come to him at Richter and Golder and ask to build something on Dyer Island. And he's super excited. He's like, you know, I love the architecture of this island. The island is known for like its great substantial building and landscaping, and it's known for being beautiful. So he's gonna get to put one of his own designs on this island where he grew up and went to his summers with his family. And so he's super excited. Within 6 months, he's got it laid out. He's ready. He's like, let's go. I'm going to do this. He's got being a father on his mind. He's going to be the best father I could possibly be. I'm going to read all of these books about being a father. Instead of drinking and going to these parties, he's officially found a reason. He's starting to focus on life. He's very excited. He goes to Dyer Island now that these 6 months have been up. Right. He goes to Dyer Island now that these 6 months are up, and he's like, okay, I'm going to go and make sure that they're starting ground building correctly. We've got to make sure all the designs are right. He shows up, and within the crumbled buildings, he sees like this shape in the fog. And this fog starts rolling out really crazy. And he like stumbles back. He falls. He's like, what's happening? It can't be happening again. And then he thinks he sees his father. So he starts to look. And then lo and behold, his father steps out of the fog. And he's ecstatic. His father's not missing. His child will now have his grandfather. he'll be able to tell his father everything he's been going through, all of the things he's done in life. He's super amped. But the father looks down at him like he's completely ashamed of Felix and shakes his head and turns around and walks into the fog. So naturally, Felix, in a state of disappointing his father, in a state of how could this be, gets up and runs after his father, never to be seen again. Never to be seen again. Some fun facts about this story, about Felix's story, is that Elodie, our sweet precious Elodie, was also a pariah. She knew Felix very well. They were very close friends. She was one of the 5 pariahs who lost their family in the fog. In her story, we do learn that they actually interact. So they would be the first set of people to know each other pre-entity and gone into the fog. So they actually know each other. He is the first survivor to ever be a parent, to ever become a parent or have a child. So he's daddy. He's a father. He is close to the entity, like the blight. So the blight and him like really know the entity. Like they've been in interaction with the entity even before the fog. Blight's story is also very, very cool. I hope that I can do that sometime soon. His voice in the PTB was actually copy and paste Steven's. So they took Steven's voice and literally copy and pasted it on him in his PTB. His voice actor now is the same one that does the Shape, Michael Myers. The actor's name is Frederick Poirier, and he's a senior sound designer at Behavior. So it's very neat. His story was it's very like all-inclusive and also terrifying in a lot of ways, because his is more like modern-esque, I guess. It's very cool. I like his story a lot.